All right, we're excited today to have Jaron Lodge, who's a local entrepreneur here in Arizona, with us on our podcast. How you doing, Jaron?
Good. How are you?
You're doing good.
Good.
Thanks for coming in and talking to us. You have a really cool product that we're going to dig into. It's currently it's called Score and Hole. Used to be called Skip and Hole. So you're evolving the product a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But before we jump into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Yeah, I know you're from Arizona, and then some of the early days as to when you decided to create this product.
Yeah. So, I did Cub Scouts, I did Boy Scouts. So I guess that's kind of where the interest of skipping stones came from a little bit. And once I realized that more people knew what skipping stones was, I was like, man, this might be an opportunity to try to provide the resources for this sport that's potentially growing. And there's another sport like tag that's growing. So it's just kind of like these cool, unique sports that kind of have existed for a long time.
Yeah,
And
tag is pretty old.
yeah. And it's like, how can we provide the resources for these old sports that just have never had the proper resources to develop and grow? So I just thought that was a cool opportunity. But yeah, that was really early on with the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. But then I did, I worked at Ashley Furniture Home Store. I did, Subway for a little bit. Customer service for Ashley Furniture. I did warehouse for Ashley Furniture. Then I did sales. So I did door-to-door selling solar energy. So 20-year power purchase agreements door-to-door. That was not easy. But it was, it taught me a lot about just persistence and grit. And then from that, I did that for 6 months. And then I went to Cutco, which is selling high-end cutlery and kitchenware. I saw a lot of success from that because I went from the hardest type of sales almost to an easier type that just kind of sold itself, and it was super easy to sell.
Well, Cutco's is that door to door as well?
It's you have to use your own network. So it's you call people up, you go to their houses, and then at the end of the demo, you're like, hey, do you know anyone else that would be interested in sitting down with me? And then that's how you continue to grow your network.
Yeah.
That's always the hardest part, but also the most important part is to continue to grow that kind of network of contact lists. If you run out, then it's all right, now I got to start from scratch a little bit. So that was tough. That's the toughest part. But if you get in a nice area and then you get a lot of contacts in that area, then it's good and you can continue to grow it. But seeing success in those different areas, with Cutco, and then just selling popcorn as a Cub Scout, getting a college scholarship from selling popcorn door to door, just seeing early successes like that really kind of builds your confidence a little bit. And then you also build some capital too, where it's okay, my goal was to save up $25,000 by the time I was 18. I hit that goal. So just hitting goals and consistently just reaching the overall goals. I mean, you can stumble and fall and maybe not hit all of your goals, but if you reach the overall goal, it builds a lot of confidence with yourself and your ability to execute. So
wait, you were doing the solar panels and the Cutco before you were 18?
That was, so I think you have to be 18. I could be wrong.
Okay, that's what I
was. Yeah.
How did you get to that goal before 18?
So I was doing that when I was 18. So I hit the $25,000 mark when I was 18.
Oh, okay.
So not before, but when I turned 18.
Well, that's pretty quick then.
Yeah.
You can start when you're 18 and you hit it.
Yeah, well, the goal was I think I probably set that goal for myself when I was 15 or 14 or earlier on, but did some stock market stuff and it's interesting.
Yeah, so you're hustling. I also sold door-to-door home alarms, and then the company that I work for also started doing solar, Vivint. I had a great experience with it. It's super hard work, but you learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about sales, about the market, how a transaction takes place in our economy, because you're making that sell in a fairly short amount of time, and it's a significant sell, especially when it comes to solar.
20-year.
Yeah. How much was Cutco? What's the full investment somebody has to make if they want to buy those knives? I mean, they are nice knives, but they're super expensive.
Yeah, there's 3 main sets. If I can remember, the Ultimate, the Signature, and the Homemaker. The Ultimate was the most expensive one. I think that ran close to $3,000.
That is ultimate.
Yeah, that's like for chefs and stuff. And then
Yeah.
there's the signature that's pretty common in households that like family of 5 and everything. So I think that was my favorite one to sell. My parents had that one before I even started Cutco. But they have like a forever guarantee, so it's just really easy to believe in this kind of stuff because overall you save money. So
My brother and his family, his wife, have the Cutco. He's a doctor, so doctors do pretty well.
They like their knives,
and they like their knives. Yeah, that's true. But they are really nice knives, nice to look at as well on the countertop. How long did you do Cutco?
I think I only did that for like a summer.
Yeah.
But smashing records, and sold. Was the second. I got second place in a nationwide competition. Was assistant manager. Within my first week, I sold. I think like 10,000 or something close to that. But I was doing really well in these different competitions and stuff, and I just loved being like in an office and just trying to be the best, in the office and trying to like lead the way. They had me doing like divisional talks to teach people on how to sell more like bigger sets and everything, because I was really good at like kind of selling the larger sets and everything. But yeah, I just really believed in the product, and I thought it would helps. I knew it helps people's like lives and everything, makes it easier. So
very cool. Yeah. So now going back to the skipping rock thing. So if I'm skipping rocks or if I'm playing tag, I'm thinking that is a very simple game that doesn't require any sort of board game or any sort of instrument outside of just getting a few people and saying, here the rules are easy. So where did you see the opportunity to like improve those games or to enhance them with some sort of product?
Yeah, so I saw an opportunity because I like looked it up on Wikipedia. That's not probably the best source, but
it's a pretty good source to start with.
Yeah, but I saw that there's 100 different ways to say like skipping stones in different languages, or they just had like different phrases for it. So I was like, okay, this is a worldwide thing, and there's like sport, like there's competitions. So there's a competition that had been going on for like 50 years almost. And they literally spend so much time searching for the perfect skipping stones to bring to the competition. So like my first initial goal was to kind of provide the standard for the sport. And I just love sports because I did basketball, baseball, I did gymnastics, tennis. So I did a whole bunch of sports.
So there's a formalized kind of league or association for skipping rocks in a pond.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Did not know that.
I know. I didn't either. I was surprised when I saw it. But yeah, I started with clay skipping stones. Then it evolved to like fish food skipping stones. And then it went from fish food to like this event rental, like I went to Home Depot and used my little Ashley Furniture home store skills to build like a pool in front of the Sun Devil Marketplace store. 24 foot long pool, filled it up with a little bit of water, put some targets at the end of it just so people had like something to skip the fish food stones into. But I didn't even use the fish food skipping stones because they were messy and gross. So I just decided to 3D print some like Guinness World Record holder designs that he helped me to design. So I worked with the Guinness World Record holder with 88 skips. And
that guy has 88 skips with one throw.
Yep. Not with mine, but with like a rock, like a heavy rock.
88 skips. Holy cow. Yeah. How many skips can you get?
I went to one of the competitions and I competed, and I was like 2 skips away from the pro or something. So I was like 24, I think 25. Wow. I did pretty good for my first time.
I'm excited for 3 or 4.
But it's all about the resources. Everyone's like skipping stones, is hard, or like I can never get 3. But it's like if you had perfect stones, like it's a lot easier.
Yeah, everyone's always looking for that like flat stone. What is a perfect stone? Because I'm always thinking of something flat, but
yeah. So I actually kind of found out that a little bit of a rounded like bottom helps because you got to try to eliminate the cutting into the water. So any sharp corners or edges of any kind will cut into the water. So if you can allow it to kick off of the water and help it produce that wake, because when the stone's skipping, it's creating like a wave, like a wake to ramp up off of, and that's how it skips. So and also having the ability to create as much spin on it as possible.
Okay, so spin, like when you flick your wrist, you're trying to get it to spin like clockwise?
Yeah, well, yeah, any direction, like if you're right-handed, left-handed, but
Yeah.
like it's called gyroscopic stabilization. So the more spin you can put on it, it stabilizes it and keeps it on track, and
Okay.
it keeps it above the water too. So that's why we have this corner a little bit longer, because that allows you to leverage the top corner and wrap your finger around like that, roll it off your index finger, and create spin. And then you flick your wrist.
And so
That creates
this
as
is
much spin
this
as
is
possible.
what you guys you created, and what is this made out of?
Yeah, it's foam. So we went from clay to fish food to reusable like foam. So
How do
that
you
way
get
people
it
can
back out
use
of
it.
the water? Like,
It floats.
oh,
So
okay,
this helps a little bit, that it floats, I would assume.
yeah.
But yeah, it just makes it easy to retrieve. And then you're skipping it back and forth because it's a cornhole game. So you have two teams on either side. You're skipping it back and forth, so it's really easy to retrieve because you're skipping it towards each other. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I want to dig into a little bit before we actually get into the game.
Mhm.
So when you wanted to pursue this idea, how did the first several months look? Did you build a prototype? Did you get a business partner? Are you doing this all on your own?
Yeah, I'm doing it all on my own. But at the same time, I have freelancers and stuff. So I'm the only like employee, but I have a lot of freelancers. I have a lot of manufacturers. I have a lot of people, that have helped me out along the way. I have a ton of mentors. Um, but the first few months looked like I have no idea what I'm doing. I have a little bit of money. How am I going to scale this? Maybe if I throw more money at it, it'll grow faster. So I just had like a really kind of a bad, way of looking at it because I still had a lot of lessons to learn. So I probably tried to scale my fish food ones too fast. I tried to hire a chemist on like Upwork to help with creating like the fish food skipping stones.
And that was
I
just a stone at that point, not
Yeah.
the other
So the
stuff.
whole focus in the first few months was just the stone.
So I guess the
Yeah,
idea
I
with
had no idea about this. Like, I wasn't even thinking about like the potential
okay.
for a game.
So
Yeah.
initially with the fish food, I guess the idea there is that it's obviously eco-friendly because
Mhm.
then the
Yeah, that was the idea, but it turns out every body of water has different pH levels. So if you add too much of anything into a body of water, it can throw off the pH level. So whether it's, if you put, and then, the goal of the business would be to sell as many fish food skipping stones as possible. So if someone has their favorite pond or body of water and you're skipping a bunch of fish food skipping stones into it and like the fish don't have enough time to eat all of it, then there's an algae bloom and there's all this stuff. So the idea was for it to be eco-friendly, but I learned that, it probably isn't. So probably the most eco-friendly and neutral thing is to just be able to reuse something like foam.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So how'd you do your first prototype of the foam
Um,
stone?
yeah, that was cool. So I went to like a local foaming shop, and I don't know, I think YouTube videos or something, and I just like, I 3D printed like really high definition quality stone, and then I just poured like silicone into like a cup, and then I took the 3D printed one out of it, and it created a mold. Um,
Where can you do 3D printing? I mean, 3D printers are super expensive. So is there a
yeah.
place you can like contract to use it for a little while, or how's
Well,
it?
ASU supplied free 3D printing. That's where I learned how to 3D print stuff.
Oh, so you went to school too? Because we
Yeah,
okay,
I
we
went to
didn't.
ASU. Yeah, yeah. But then there was also this guy who's a local engineer that has really, he uses powder as like the filament for 3D printing, so it creates like a really refined, like you have no lines or anything, which allowed me to create a little bit nicer of one, but it was still rough around the edges because I was just making the molds. So, but that was, yeah, a lot of bootstrapping.
Yeah, and you've covered all the cost yourself.
Yeah, I did do pitch competitions for ASU, so I was able to raise some grant funding from that. I think
Great.
total $22,000 in grant funding from
Oh, that's
that.
great. Congratulations.
Yeah, and that helped me launch my Kickstarter campaign. So it's like one thing led to another,
Yeah.
and my Kickstarter campaign generated like 53,000 in a month. So
That's
and then
amazing.
that thing led to another thing, and that's how you just keep.
When was the Kickstarter campaign?
That was 2020 of July.
Okay.
So July 2020.
Yeah, middle of COVID too. So
yeah, and I don't know
to...
if that helped. I think it might have helped actually, because a lot of people are like at home and they're looking for fun things to do.
Yeah.
So I think they were in the mentality of like, I need more fun things to do at my house, even though I'm not going to get this in a year. I still like really want fun things at the house, especially for the pool and stuff. And
Makes sense.
I think that actually kind of helped.
And so now you have, what do you call this?
So that's skip and hole.
The whole thing is called skip and hole.
Okay. Yeah. So the whole thing comes with 2 targets.
Yeah. So this is the target.
Yeah. So that's one of the targets. So it comes with 2. And then it comes with 8 skipping stones. So 4 blue and then 4 red. And then it has water weight bags that just anchor to the sides here. That's cool.
So what was the evolution of actually going from just the stone to the target?
Yeah, it was the pop-up shop. Like my first pop-up shop that I did at the Sun Devil Marketplace store. That's where it kind of happened. The goal was just to like kind of wring the rag and make the most out of the opportunity. And I was like, okay, let's try to gamify this a little bit to make it more entertaining and to kind of get people to skip these stones, because I know if they use them, then I have a higher chance of like selling more. And yeah, the idea wasn't to sell the game at all. It was just like a way of intriguing people to want to come participate in skipping the stones. But then what I realized is people were way more interested in the actual game than they were the eco-friendly skipping stones. So I was like, okay, let me keep doing more events. And I did 17 events that year, and each event, it evolved more and more.
So an event would look like, you set up in a kind of a high traffic area, and would there be some prize or something, or was it just more for fun for the folks?
So I did the one pop-up shop, and then I made a video and I posted it on LinkedIn. And then I had this guy who owned a company locally, and he was like, hey, like, can you set this up for my office? And then we can do like a team building activity like outside my office. And then that event led to another event and to another one and another one. So we did like fundraisers, and at each event I would make a new prototype of the targets based off of the feedback that I got from the people playing. And that's how it continued to evolve.
So how does this work now? So you have six holes, and you can do multiple things. So I can see how you could skip it in to a target. But then there's also more of the traditional cornhole. So you're throwing these instead of a bag.
You'd throw we have hacky sacks. So
okay, so that's included.
So they're like balls. But yeah, that would be included in another iteration that we're working on.
Okay.
But yeah, we currently sell separately the hacky sack balls. So you can do toss and hole, or you can roll it in the hole. So like skee ball meets cornhole, regular cornhole. So like land cornhole, water cornhole. Yep. And then we have skipping stones meets cornhole. And then you can even skip these on the beach because the sand acts like the water too.
So it's kind of like a next generation on a cornhole. So if you want to just play cornhole, this will work. With regular bean bags. Yeah. But there's more. Are these the different points you get with cornhole? So it's actually
a little bit it's
gamified a bit more.
Yeah. It's a unique twist on cornhole. So it's the same kind of like gameplay, but it's the point system is different. Okay. And the scoring system's a little bit different.
So, and is that because it's harder to get into these ones? Kind of like skee ball. Sort of thing. There's different points depending on which hole you get it into.
So yeah, if you get it all the way up here to the top, then it's going to be more points. And it's a lot of the feedback that I got when I first had my 2 targets next to each other in the portable pool was like, hey, I'm skipping up the middle, but I'm not getting any extra points for that. Like I want to be rewarded for my accuracy. So we put the 2 targets together, and then I just basically cropped out all the access stuff to make the target feel smaller. Just so it's more satisfying when you get it in.
So one of the big things that I think is important with what you're doing is taking customer feedback. A lot of inventors, people who create a product, they're like, this is what the product's got to be, and everyone's going to love it. And immediately when people start using it, they're like, the inventor's like, well, you got to use it this way, right? Yeah. Because they have some ownership. But you're taking the approach where you want to put it in the market and then test it and learn from how it works. And that's super key to of all the product into something that has what we call product market fit, which means that there's a market for people who actually want to buy this and purchase it. But you don't know that. It's really tough to just dream that up. You have to go out and do the scientific theory, have an idea, test it, come back, reiterate. And so this is several iterations, I can tell, based on your testing from these. Most of your testing sounds like were those events that you did where you got live people playing the game and you're watching them, trying to just kind of see how they're experiencing it.
Yeah, and I didn't always think of it that way. I spent the first few years I didn't want it to show anyone like my ugly baby that I was creating. It was like I had like fish food, skipping stones that weren't the proper design. They were hockey pucks, and I was like, I don't know if I want to show this to anyone yet. They're not going to get it yet. But it's like you got to show people what you're working on so you can get feedback. And so I spent like 2 or 3 years not really evolving or growing or anything with the clay and fish food skipping stones because I wasn't showing it to anyone. So when I finally did that event, I was like, oh, this is a cool way to show people and kind of get feedback. And now I see how valuable this actually is.
Yeah, we don't want that feedback on our baby because nobody wants to hear that their baby isn't cute, right?
Yeah.
And but you have to get that feedback at some point. And yeah, like filling the product, it feels like a commercial grade product. So congratulations, because it's really hard to get to that point. Yeah. How do you do the manufacturing? How's that work? And the creating the design and having it actually manufactured. How's that all processed for you?
So I work right now with probably 25 to 30 different manufacturers, all different like parts and pieces and stuff. So I've broken it down so that, you get the cost down a little bit there by breaking it down.
It sounds complicated though.
It is, and it's a lot of work, but you also have a lot more, you can move things along actually faster though, in a way. But I mean, it's more work on me, but then I can move things along faster if I need them to, because I'm not waiting on anyone else to kind of, follow up. So I'm the bottleneck. So I can control like how much work and time I put into it to make sure it does well. But yeah, I mean, the process is just like you get samples. If it looks good, then you do like product testing, because you need to do product testing in order to sell things in the US. And then, you work on packaging and stuff and make sure that looks good. That also has to pass product testing and stuff. And then you slowly scale up. You don't want to buy like a whole bunch like I did in the beginning, because then that just reduces your flexibility on being able to evolve the product. And then you're also sitting on a bunch of inventory.
You bought a lot of this particular product or a prior iteration?
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
how many did you buy?
6,000 in the beginning.
That's a lot.
So yeah, I sold 1,000 on the Kickstarter campaign, and I'm like, I need, a lot more for the summer coming up and everything. And then, I still sold a lot and I was doing really well, but I mean, it's probably one of the fastest growing backyard games ever with the sales and what I've seen from but that's not really something to be too like happy about, I guess, because when you scale up that fast, then it's like, you kind of have to take a step back at some point to kind of, like get things back on track to where they should be and efficiently, like profitably and everything. So,
yeah, no, it's constant challenges with creating a product, finding that product market fit before you can scale. One of the things that I've heard is before you scale, you really want to nail that product market fit, and sometimes it takes many iterations, many years before you find that. Then you find that magic formula, and then it's that time. Well, yeah, hard. It's a hard balance.
Even if it's like a great product and everything, you always want to continue to be able to evolve it.
Right.
So you don't want to be sitting on a bunch of inventory where it's like, well, I can't release my new version because I have so much of my old version I still need to sell. So that's just kind of like.
What do you price this at?
We sell it at $99.99 in certain areas, and then $89.99 in others.
And I think it's on Amazon.
Yes, it's on Amazon. Well, we sold out, so no, not right now.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we were.
Wait, you sold out of all those 6,000?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So we've sold all of them now.
Wow! Congratulations. Yeah. Okay.
Now it's going to take a few months to get some more inventory.
Well, yeah, when you were saying that you ordered too many, I assumed you had a glut that you haven't sold, but you have sold out.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it would have been nice to have like multiple shipments instead of just like one
Yeah.
big, okay, I'm shipping 4 containers to me right away. It's like if you can spread that out, then it's more efficient. Um, Not saying that I didn't need necessarily that many, but because I did up to this point, but if I spread it out a little bit better, it's just more profitable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're sold out right now.
Mhm.
You don't have anything to sell today. So
Besides this one for you guys,
thanks.
it's a used one. Just used it one.
So so what's next for and we're changing the name from Skip and Hold to what again?
Score and Hole.
Score and Hole.
Yeah.
Okay, so Score and Hole. So you're going away from the Skip.
Well, we're
originally
still going to
started.
keep it. So we're still going to sell Skip and Hole as like a Skip and Hole game set. It's just all the targets are going to say Score and Hole on
Okay.
it. So we're still going to have like, if you want to buy extra skipping stones, it's going to say Skip and Hole on the
Okay.
packaging. So because people lose these all the time. So we're still going to keep it like, hey, this is the Skip and Hole game mode, but this is the Score and Hole targets. Like
Got
you
it.
can do anything with them.
Got
you
it.
can
That
do
makes
all these
sense.
different game modes.
Okay.
It's just, it'll take some time once we, transition, do the full transition. It'll start to make a little bit more sense again.
And so the next version, what's the timing on that? And then what else is next for you?
Yeah. Well, there's other game modes that that I have ready to go and that are going to be launched soon. And then there's other ones that I will be working on at some point. So it's just like, honestly, just the goal is to just create the most versatile, value-packed game ever, like backyard game ever.
But more like nuts and bolts of what's next. Are you trying to raise some capital? Are you trying to grow your team? When's the next iteration come out? Those types of things.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I'm really working on like my marketing arm right now because it's like, all right, I spent a ton of time on product development and stuff. But now I kind of need to shift gears a little bit because it's like, all right, now my product is built out to where I really wanted it to be. But now that I have it built out, it's going to be even easier to market now. So now is a good time to start marketing. And to do it the right way and figure out the most efficient and even maybe profitable way to market. So maybe if there's a way that I can, figure out, and I think I actually have figured out a way to be profitable and still market it at the same time as like another business, then you have another business that's just marketing your own product.
But do you have to have your next iteration available before you can start marketing because you have nothing to sell today, right?
I've learned to just go for it and just keep working on things. And even if, everything's not perfect, then it's just better to put in the work and get it ready to go as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have it, because there's still inventory in like Dick's Sporting Goods and Big 5. So if anything, sure, I'm not getting the cash flow directly to me, but at least it's helping my other sales channels and my partners.
Great. Yeah. So you have great distribution, Amazon, Dick's, Big 5. The marketing you want to develop is the direct marketing, your own website.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've done a really good job of like optimizing the Amazon direct marketing. So like PPC, so pay per click stuff. I really focused that this year, and I think I did a pretty good job of that. And now we have like almost 100 reviews on Amazon, which is good, and it's continuing to snowball. And so that's really positive. That's a really good sales channel. Everyone was having a hard time now with Facebook ads, so making that pivot was really, really important. And so we pivoted to Amazon and focusing on that. But then there's other just marketing strategies in general. Like we just created like this inflatable pool that we have set up at ASU tailgates. And people pay me to come to those events instead of a lot of people have to pay to go to those events. So it's just a really cool marketing strategy where it's like, hey, if I can get paid to market my product at these events instead of having to pay to be at all these events, then that's a pretty scalable
that's a win-win
thing.
Yeah. Free marketing and you're at the event, putting it in front of people. Mm-hmm. Are you looking for investors now, or are you trying to bootstrap? How do you look at that?
I'm always like open-minded to having like any conversations with investors and stuff and like venture capitalists and stuff. So I've had a few conversations around that. Um, don't really jump on anything unless it's like a really good deal or something. Um, but I mean, the most important thing I think for scaling and just growing quickly is not necessarily having a bunch of investor money, but being able to be like self-sustaining and like profitable. So if I could just maximize like my profits and just grow internally, I feel like that's a lot scalable and you can grow so much faster than just having like a ton of money just like, thrown at you, and then you throw it at other things to try to make it like
Yeah.
make the business more profitable, and you may not be ready. So then you're just doing large scale tests instead of small scale tests, and then you're just kind of throwing a lot of money in the drain.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely true in that.
But if you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's right. If some companies get too much money and it limits the resourcefulness of what they can do, because money kind of solves a lot of problems temporarily till it runs out.
Yeah. Yep.
The one approach is to bootstrap, to try to keep things profitable, to grow internally. You're always going to be limited by what cash you have available when it comes to inventory.
I like loans better.
Yeah.
I try to protect my equity as much as possible. But.
Yeah, and that makes sense as a founder. At some point, if you hit the right product and you really want to blow the product up, raising some capital that would allow you to buy a lot of units, do all the marketing, all the things you want to do, some of these big products. At some point, once they find that product, pulling that money in just allows you to go to a huge, much larger market. And so that's the other way. But you can definitely do that too early, and then you can also delay it too long, where you have a product that could sell if you got it out in front of people. And so as an entrepreneur, figuring that out is not easy.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough. So, but that's 100% true.
So are you doing this full time? Is it a side hustle, and you have another job, or how do you balance that out in your time?
Yeah, it's a full-time thing right now, which can be difficult because like our main product is the summer game, So when summer's over, it's like, and also when you run out of inventory, it's like, okay, how are we going to continue to bring some cash flow in? So you just kind of have to be strategic and kind of like budget. But yeah, since have my hands in so many different things and I'm wearing so many different hats, like I need to be doing it full time until I start like hiring. I'm in a position to start hiring people and stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the next steps is finding your first employee.
Yeah.
Besides yourself.
Yep.
And that's a big step.
Yeah, it is a big step. The good thing about me doing a lot of stuff right now is at least I know a little bit about all these different areas. So when I do start to hire, I know if who I'm hiring is going to be a good fit for, and if they, know what they're doing and stuff, and all, I can vet them out pretty good.
Yeah. So, last question. You've been at this for several years. You're doing an awesome job. Pretty amazing that you've developed something that was just in your head, and now you have a product that is, commercial grade, sitting right here. It's pretty amazing. So, props to you for getting it to this point. And you've sold 5,000 units, or you've sold several thousand units. You have some others in the stores now, which I'm sure will sell as well. So, if you were to go back a few years and be able to talk to yourself, several years ago, what are a couple of the key takeaways, pieces of advice you'd give yourself, if you were to go back to the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot I could have done with that $25,000 in the beginning, and I didn't have to cut it that close because I was like out of money. But then I luckily just won like a $10,000 grant, which gave me the money to do the Kickstarter campaign. So like I've cut it close several times. So it's like
that's pretty normal for an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's like I would tell myself like do small scale tests. Yes, it's exciting to try. You do want to bet big though. Like when it works, like you bet big. But in the beginning when you're testing things out and you don't know for sure. So you have to be, you can't be delusional. You have to be really honest with yourself. Like, hey, is this thing going to work? And have I tested it out thoroughly? And if I have, is now a good time to bet big on it? But yeah, just with any part of any aspect of the business, whether it's like, product development or just getting into more stores, getting like having new retail partners and stuff. Cause you don't want to time things, you know, you want to make sure everything's timed correctly. COVID was perfect timing and that was just luck. But yeah, that would be one of the big things, small scale tests. And I'm sure there's a lot more.
No, I think that's a good one. That's a good takeaway for our audience, folks who are at that stage, and you've done a great job of that, iterating to the point where you have a really cool end product. So we want to best of luck as you continue to develop this and develop the company. We're going to follow you, and I'm going to take this one and we'll have it at our next company event and play with it. So we're looking forward to it.
Sweet. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Like, this has been awesome. And I love sharing the story. I love talking about my baby that I've spent many years working on. So
thanks for coming in.
Yeah.